already started. Here's where we're going. Right away, this is where we got to start with Steve.
I'm done.
Is that the we're going somewhere?
I don't know what it was. I'm happy.
I am too, Steve. I'm always happy to see you.
Yeah. Shows.
In case anyone doesn't know, the Steve I'm talking about standing next to me would be Steve Strope. 20 years ago you built this car.
20 years ago, yeah, back catalog right there. Built it originally for George Poteet a very long time ago. A bunch of you should know the name George Poteet. If you don't, it has been called the patron saint of hot rodding. I was out my first time ever visiting the Riddler show, and I bump into George, and I had built a couple of publicized Mopars.
Yeah, sure.
And he goes, I think I'd like me a Charger, and I'm being thick as a brick. I'm like, well, I'm sure you can find a nice one. And he goes, no, I think I'll have you build one. You're the Mopar guy. And I'm like, I am? Oh yeah, I am. George asked me if I know Michael Desmond, which I did, amazing artist. George says, well, you come up with an idea and have Michael draw it. So I thought of this kind of stripped down NASCAR thing. Michael drew it and George loved it, and we built it. These headlight doors on Chargers open and close by little vacuum actuators. And so George, his only request, I don't care what you do, I want these manually operated. I got a hold of the control cable. There's one knob on a cable, go under the dash, comes to about where 12 o'clock on the tire is against the frame, and there's a little block there. Cable one goes into a big aluminum block, and the two cables going out to both these headlights clamp into it. So when you pull on that, or push on that, opens the doors or closes the doors together at the same time, but it's just cable. It's very simple. And George walks up, walks around the car, just looking at it, pokes his head inside. I'm like, you want to see the engine? Well, what do you want to see? Like, looks at me, and he walks about 20 feet that way and goes, open up those headlight doors. And then I reached in and I went, and then I went, and he goes, I love it.
Oh, that is such a relief.
And walked away. And I'm like going, but yeah.
Like you don't want to take a few minutes.
How about the rest of the whole car?
What year?
1968 Dodge Charger, my favorite year for the Charger. Body is stone stock. Took a lot of cues from that year era NASCAR, like the window hold downs. Those arrow covers on the A-pillars are from the Charger 500, and the wing cars, the Daytona and the Superbirds.
Is that the same as like the treatment around the bumper?
That is an arrow trick that the NASCARs from the day the Mopar did to have the air go around the bumper.
Mm-hmm. But there's no body mods at all.
No.
It's 100% stock 68
I
Charger.
added the little simple spoiler in the back. You know, these hold down straps and the straps in the back window. And these covers.
But actual glass, not.
It's actual glass. And it's leaf spring rear. They're just inboard.
Oh,
to
really?
Fit the big tire. Front suspension, I boxed the lower control arm. I was making my own chrome Oleor size adjustable strut rods for the lower control arm. I used the big C-body, big 11/16 tie rod sleeves for the big heavy duty tie rods from a big like Newport.
Can we pop the hood to see?
Yeah, and so
why 4?
Because that's what was happening on the NASCARs of the day.
Really?
Yep. I still retain the factory latch. You know.
I noticed, by the way, before you pop the hood, right here where your turn
those
indicators.
Are factory. The little filler panels for the turn signals.
To get rid of the turn signals. Really? It's stock subframe. Any alteration to that at all, or
cleaned up? It's got the HEMI skid pad under it, and I just cleaned the welding.
But no, like you're not boxing stuff and.
We added a little bit, but that was the HEMI lower boxing plate. Okay. Then a friend named Nick Miserandino, he did the cage for me in the tin work. So we did these down bars. And there's NASCAR stuff going on, like the breather balance tube, the Corvette overflow tank. They actually use those. Little things that I think were fun, like I grew up around a whole ton of dirt track racing and short track racing.
Yeah.
So I always loved the dirt screens. I wanted something more interesting than just a round air cleaner.
Yeah. Right.
I actually built that the night before SEMA.
Really?
I was like, I gotta have something else there.
Now, 19 years ago, so you had a shop by then. You had people working with you.
This car was built.
It's not you by yourself.
When I had just this on that lift.
But it's not you by yourself back then at that point. Now you got people working with you.
I had one guy helping me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Other fun stuff knowing the Mopars, like I went and got this cooler from a Chrysler police car to cool the power steering.
No kidding.
Right. And then I like made the little offset to float the coil on the roll bar, and we actually added this little wrap piece to make it a little bit bigger to work with the coil. If you're going to do a HEMI, you need to do it right. And if you're doing it right, there's a couple people in the country that are the names, and one of them is Ray Barton out of Pennsylvania. This is a Ray Barton 472, and it gets with the program.
So what kind of power does that make then?
It's probably touching 600
So
all
it's
day
not
long.
the over-the-top stupid power,
No,
but it's...
well, it's more than enough. 'Cause
Oh,
it's
yeah,
all,
yeah.
has the same torque. You know,
Right.
it's a freight train.
Choo-choo, motherfucker!
Mechanically, what does it go to transmission-wise?
Tronic 5-speed,
Uh-huh.
8 3/4 rear, hanging on leaf springs, narrowed inboard. And a little period touches like the
I love
copper
the
lines.
copper lines in here.
Right.
Is that a thing from NASCAR of that
I
era?
don't know if it was NASCAR, but I saw it on different photos, and I just thought it'd be fun.
It's neat.
And it's visual texture. There's nothing high tech here at all.
Yeah, yeah.
All it is use of a couple of cool parts and really good use of color.
I'm with you,
It's a
dude.
really high impact, big red engine right in the middle of this white engine
look
bay.
at the size of this friggin' valve covers. I mean, this thing
Yep.
is Mondo, man.
It's Wimbledon white.
Is it Wimbledon white?
Yeah.
So manual brake setup? Mm-hmm. What does it have
They're
brake-wise?
big old Willwoods.
Uh-huh.
I think they're either 13s or 14s. They were huge for the day.
What's with the wheel choice here? Because I love your wheel choice. So this isn't a one-off Steve design wheel?
Nope, that was a wheel that Alan Budnick had come out with called the Muroc, and I mixed it with long ARP NASCAR wheel studs.
Do you know your wheel and tire sizes? Do you remember this stuff? Going back 19 years?
I don't know if I remember the front, but the rears I know are the 345 is like when they just came out with those.
No, what are they, 18, 19,
Probably.
17, 18?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 18, 19
18,
back here. I love, we were talking about this earlier about side pipes. What's exhaust-wise, what'd
It's
you
the
do on this thing?
flat oval, the Spintech flat oval stuff, and it just comes out of the header, goes into a little muffler, and then spits
It
out
sounds
there.
like it. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
aggressive.
Yeah, it's not muffled very much at all.
No. And then factory dash, pulled off all the plastic, made that, piece of aluminum.
Yeah, it's really raw. Like simple, cool raw. Mm-hmm. Boy, you're not kidding about how it's hollow. Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, no headliner.
Then these are factory, and there's just no door pulls, and I just lightning hole drilled them, and then these are factory.
But that's
just
all
drilled
factory,
them.
and you just drilled it.
Yeah, just drilled them, and then we made the panels with red zone, and then just Zola toned it.
So there's no kind of sound deadening at
No.
all? Big old pedal.
Big giant foot plant. Yes.
Boy. And then those are like the gauges like in a Cobra, right?
Yeah, the Stuart Warner.
Stuart
is correct
Warner,
for the
yes,
day. So the
yes.
factory headlight and wiper switch
Right?
that arms the ignition, and then the push button starts it. And the other switch on upgraded Chryslers, they had a little electric blower motor in the rear package tray that pulled the air from the trunk and blew air on the rear window to defrost the rear window.
No kidding.
So I took that motor and the metal plate it attached to and welded it, basically the kick panel.
Yeah.
So it draws air here, fresh air outside, and then it feeds ducting to the defroster.
So that's what this switch does, is opens and closes.
So even that blower motor is old Mopar.
So everything here is Mopar.
Yeah, or a lot of it as much as possible.
Yeah. It looks like a full-blown race
that's-
car that
that's the
somebody
headlight.
decided to make look good. Oh, that opens and closes the...
Yep, and push it in.
Wow, that's so cool.
All right.
And you can tell that it's a cable, that it's...
Yeah, it's a solid cable. So I just took a fender emblem and put it over there because they did that with the NASCARs, right? And then the factory steering wheel, and we kind of simulated the big button and the electrical tape wrapped that they did on the NASCARs.
But it's
So- but
some
it's
leather,
leather,
so it
it's a
feels
little
good
nicer.
on your hand, yeah.
It smells like a NASCAR, it runs like a NASCAR, sounds like a NASCAR. It's like it when you're in it and you hear all the rocks coming up in the rear.
Yeah, because you got nothing deadening anything.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
It is indeed the real deal, and the big arced rear.
Yeah,
wheel
oh
mirror.
yeah, Totally.
Lot
What
of-
are these seats from?
These are
Charger seats? What's the red color, Steve? Do you remember? No?
Yeah, I got it from somewhere. I'll have to try to look up.
You know, when I asked that question,
I don't know if I remember.
I
what
knew
got.
for a fact, I knew you had gotten it from somewhere.
No, I got it from
So
somewhere.
thank you for helping me out there.
I didn't just go to Kmart and buy a rattle
What kind of
can.
answer is that?
Leave me alone, asshole. Again, just,
yeah, all business right here.
and here's the easy,
Battery on,
yeah,
off right
yeah.
there.
You know, simple. But yeah,
Again, though, you brought in the copper here.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's so slick. I think the red's from Speed Racer.
A Mach 5 is the most complex and ingenious car ever built.
I'll have to look up where I got it from or what.
It's one of those I'm kind of curious about because it's a super unique red.
It may be, I was looking at reds that Chrysler, because their HEMI was always orange, of course. Early Chrysler red ran HEMIs were a dark red. Chrysler had a dark red on other engines, and I may have lifted that and utilized that. I can't swear to it. I'd have to go check my notes, which I have all my notes on this car.
He has no idea what he's talking about right now.
Really?
I love you,
I'm gonna
dude.
throw you out at speed.
All right, now that we're done messing around, that we figured out we don't know what red this is, we're gonna go drive it. Boy, this car sounds and feels right away raw.
It is.
Just raw. Now let him catch back up.
Oh, okay.
Woo, this thing makes good sound. I love the no deadening in here. I mean, you wouldn't want to drive it every day.
No, not everything.
Dumb, even small little blasts like that, and I started smiling. Temps all look happy.
Perfect. Thing doesn't get hot, it stays at 160.
Wow. Watching you, you're rolling it up to $5,000. You're not matting it.
Yeah, I'm rolling up to about 55.
Yeah. always a fun time hanging out with my friend Steve Strope. If you've watched the channel for a while, you know I'm a massive fan. We've shot quite a few Strope cars. It's a real joy for me to get to revisit one of his old cars that I've personally never seen in person. And you gotta admit, after 19 years, this car is held up. It's a timeless design. You gotta love that big 472 HEMI in there. It's just a raw, pissed off, everything you want a 68 Charger to be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this walk down memory lane with me and Steve here. And as always, a big thanks for hanging and watching, and I will see you in the next one. All right, you guys, later.